Hey guys, welcome back to Steel City Sports. Just wanted to talk a little Chargers today because I do think they're one of the most fascinating teams entering this NFL season with a lot of changes going around this offseason to this roster and obviously most notably the new head coach Jim Harbaugh. So I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. Do I see them as a playoff team? Well, here comes into my first point with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh has a proven track record of immediate success everywhere he's gone throughout his coaching tenure. You look at what he did with San Diego State, with Stanford, with the 49ers, and with Michigan. He automatically implements his culture. It's a very physical style, smash mouth style of football where they just beat you up. And I think that always translates well because when you look back to last year's regular season, who were two of the best teams last year? The 49ers and the Ravens, two of the most physical teams in football, and they were both the one seeds in their conferences last year. So that philosophy of football, that style of football, I think will translate no matter what era you're in. Even though now we're seeing more and more penalties shift to more of the offensive side of the ball. There's this narrative out there that today it's such a soft league and all that. That's bullshit. These are the best versions of athletes on the fucking planet right now. These guys beat the shit out of each other. Watch a 49ers game this year. Watch a Ravens game this year. They beat the shit out of players. Okay? So this idea that it's just a soft league and it's flag football, that's for people who don't watch the NFL and just want to take a crap on the NFL, that don't watch the games. This is still a very, very physical game. So that is one positive towards the Chargers being a good team this year is the culture they're implementing really works in the NFL. Across decades, across teams, it always works. But here's kind of my biggest gripe with the Chargers, and maybe you could say that this philosophy could be outdated. I'm just trying to present ideas here, guys. Physicality works, but you have to have the players. And one thing the Chargers did, one of their biggest bold moves they did this offseason was just gutting their receiver room, just not paying receivers. And that has been a big thing with Harbaugh is he does not prioritize wide receivers. Could this be an outdated model? Let's talk about it a little bit. When we look back to last year's AFC playoff teams, the teams that the Chargers are going to have to compete with to be a playoff team this year, I think 6 of those 7 teams had at least above average weapons. You look at Baltimore. They have an incredible cast of weapons. At least last year they did. Zay Flowers, OBJ, Mark Andrews, and of course the MVP Lamar is a weapon in his own right because he's such a good runner of the ball. Kansas City, I think they're definitely an anomaly because they didn't have any great number one receiver, but we're literally talking about the greatest quarterback of all time, and not of all time right now, and arguably the best tight end of all time. With Buffalo, I think they definitely had above average weapons last year. I know Stephon Diggs was not the same in the later part of last year, but he was still great. You still had competent guys like Khalil Shakir and Gabe Davis, who I don't like as number 1 options for sure, but as number 2 and number 3 behind Stephon Diggs. They still had a good offense last year for sure, especially after they made the OC change. Houston absolutely had elite weapons last year. The Browns, Amari Cooper and David Njoku down the stretch of last year were incredible. The Dolphins, we don't even need to spend much time on them. I mean, they have probably the best offensive skill position players in the league right now. They have the best wide receiver tandem by far with Tyreek and Waddle, in my opinion. Then you have the one team I think really didn't have great weapons, which was my Steelers. The fact that we still made playoffs last year is really a credit to Tomlin. But I think 6 of those 7 teams we just talked about had elite weapons, or at least above average weapons. So let's now take a look at the Chargers wide receiver room and see how that kind of compares against these other elite AFC teams. Josh Palmer, DJ Chark, Quentin Johnston, who a lot of people say is a bust from last year, Ladd McConkey, rookie this year, Darius Davis, Simi Fehoko, sorry if I mispronounced that, and Brendan Rice, 7th rounder, rookie this year. So that it could be worrisome. That could be the biggest problem for the Chargers is, the smash mouth physical style definitely does work, but could it be outdated? Because when we saw Harbaugh implement this with the Niners, that was a decade ago. This is not the same football being played, in terms of wide receivers are now arguably the second or third most important position on the field now. So you guys have to let me know what you think of all this in the comments, because I do think there are good arguments to be made for the Chargers being really good or potentially being a disappointing team. And that's why I said at the beginning of the video, that's why I think they are so fascinating, because I could see them going like being a 7-win team, just their offense being pretty stagnant. It's a very old school philosophy on that offense. Or maybe it just works out that physical style of play translates immediately, and they're an 11-win team. They make the playoffs. So I know I was kind of rambling in this video. I know it was kind of all over the place, but I just wanted to get these thoughts out there because I really am so intrigued by the Chargers. And I don't know if I can call them a playoff team with such a lack of skill and depth at that receiver position. Let me know down in the comments.